Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Lead Nudge. I am Silvia, your inclusive leadership mentor. This week I want to take you back to one of my early days in working in the finance industry. I had this senior stakeholder, we're talking about 2 or 3 levels above me, who had to manually sign every one of the customer agreements that I was responsible to bring. And even though the process looked very simple on paper, I would argue, I realized that there was a pattern where these documents started to pile up in her desk. Sometimes they would go by, and as a front line worker, when customers would arrive for their scheduled signs, the documents were not there, right? And customers would get frustrated. I would get yelled at, and she would get frustrated at me as well for not having everything ready. So a little bit of a mess, a little bit of a difficult situation for a junior employee. And to be fully transparent, at the beginning, I felt very powerless because even though she wasn't my boss, my direct boss, she had authority over my work. She had a very good relationship and conversations with my manager. So what I did is that I started to observe her patterns. When did she have the most energy? When was she in a good mood? When was she open for interruptions? And I realized that she was the sharpest and in a very good mood early in the morning before all the meetings began. At that time, she was not locking her office. At that time, she was open for people to come and ask questions. So what I did is that I changed my rhythm. I started dropping the documents very early at 8:30. We started working at 8. And with what I did is I added a quick summary of what needed to be signed for that day and why that mattered for that customer. Sometimes this will be super big customers that require that special attention. And so I made it a point to share that with her. So that meant just talking a little bit about the size of the customer and why that was important for the business, right? So that meant that within minutes, she would sign all of them super early. No stress, no blame. When the customers would come, everything would flow. So very, very nice. And reflecting back on that strategy, which that was at that point a survival strategy. It's not that I was doing or thinking about stakeholder management or managing up, but that was exactly what I was doing without even knowing. And reflecting back on that, I realized that that's the power of managing up. Is not about having that sense of control, is more about how we are aware of the relationship and understanding how your manager, your own boss works, how they like to work, how they like to be more efficient, or what type of pressures they're on, right? They're under. And it could be that in the case of this senior stakeholder, during the day, she would get into meetings that require a lot of brain power, energy from her. So by 4 p.m., when I was asking for her signature, she was done. And even though I didn't appreciate the way that was being thrown back at me, it got me to learn this lesson that it's also possible for us to make the collaboration easier. And this is where I like to bring how leadership is beyond the title, right? When we talk about leadership and being inclusive leaders, it's not only talking about getting the title of manager. It can also be how can we use these skills to support and to lead our team members or our colleagues. In this case, can also be managing up and using those leadership skills. Because great leaders are not just about leading down, right? Or the people that are, let's say, in the ladder under us or in our team setup. It's also about learning how to lead up and lead across. Can be sometimes leading somebody who is not within our scope, within our department, right? So for this week, I want to bring this challenge, which is a spicy one. I want you to not wait for your manager to ask for updates. Instead, I want you to send either in your one-on-one, prepare a weekly summary. Prepare three sections. What are some of the wins? So what went well this week? What are some of the priorities that are coming up? So this will help to make your manager aware of what needs attention, not necessarily in the short term, but in the medium term. And what are some of the roadblocks? So where do you need their input? Where do you need support? And I have done this. This is a practice that I do. It will take you about 10 to 15 minutes to prepare, but it will show initiative. It will show that you can build trust, and it will save you and your manager unnecessary friction. It will avoid that constant asking for feedback or asking for updates from their point of view if you're proactive. Managing up is not about politics. I want to make this clear. It's about making sure that there is a partnership. At the end of the day, it's also about building a relationship, right? Just as we have talked before. Remember to lead as you are, with courage, inclusion, and heart, you all.